All right, it is, what is it? It is December 7th, 6:03 in the evening. Everybody please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please get started. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so we have a few members that will be popping in here shortly. Andy is running late on a conference call. He'll be catching up to us. We'll start tackling some items, and Nate is due in any minute, so they'll be joining us. We will note the minutes when they arrive. Let's see. First up, the minutes for November 2nd. So wish of the board.
Table.
Move to table. Any objections to that?
I don't think I could approve them.
Okay, so we're going to table those to the next meeting.
Or were you just doing that for the quorum, Jeff? Do you want to do them when Andy comes in?
Sure.
Is that okay? So we'll just push them down on the agenda.
Move to push them down on the agenda.
That
Thanks.
is required. All right, we're going to hold the minutes. We can hit public comments. Public. No one? All right. Agenda review. We have a couple items we need to add. So we have a consent item for invoices from Dale. We need to have a brief non-public. We're going to place that between E and F. And then we are going to add an additional item after the budget for the roles and responsibilities of board members, where we get to bring Kendra up to speed on some of her additional functions. Outside of that, was there anything else, Patty?
Nope.
Okay, so we should have in the packet your invoices from Dale. We can handle that. I have 2 invoices for the month of November. First one is elementary transportation, 17 days. I'm sorry. Elementary transportation, 17 days. 4 buses. Both ways, green bus in the AM only, total $27,520.11. So wish the board.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion approved by Jeff, seconded by Kendra. Nate has arrived at 6:05, so we got a head start on Nate.
No problem.
We're just doing, we're approving some STA. Sounds good. Catch up. We have a motion and a second for the invoice for the elementary transportation. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, that brings us to the high school transportation. 17 days, 2 buses, $13,863.50. What's the wish of the board?
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Jeff, seconded by Kendra. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Brian, do you know where we're at with the elementary school buses? I noticed one of the buses that says like 3 revolving drivers. Are they just filling gaps or
Yeah,
adding drivers?
Yeah, we've had some people who are just absent for health reasons.
Okay, so it's not like resignations or anything?
No. Yeah, and they're pulling people from all the town, people are just filling in where they can be helpful.
Have they given us any update if we're gonna get more, or is this gonna be it for the year?
We have not received any additional information.
You have nothing else on that either, right, Patty? Okay. All right, that brings us to
Probably do the minutes now.
yeah, you okay with that, Jeff?
Mhm.
All right, look for the motion to approve the minutes of November 2nd.
So moved.
All right, changes or updates to the minutes? I'm sorry, we have a second.
I'll second it. I wasn't there, but I'll second it.
Maybe not.
Well, you were here.
I
No,
was
you-
here. I was not on the board.
You were at the November
I
2nd.
was at the meeting.
You weren't at the November 2nd meeting?
All right, why don't we table these till,
I mean,
just
yeah.
throw these to the next
That's
meeting.
fine.
We'll move those to the next meeting. All right?
Mhm.
Okay, we're gonna table those to the next meeting so that hopefully Jeff and I and Andy are here to execute them at that point.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
All right, review of correspondence. We had one email that will be attached to the minutes when they get approved.
Two
We got
emails.
2 emails. This one, sorry.
One for Ms. Marchioni and one for Mr. Whitmore.
Yeah, I only have one in my packet.
There's two of them. What's the second one?
Yeah, they're working in the drive.
All right, so those will get added to the minutes for anybody who wants to see them. Again, just conversation about desire for school choice as opposed to the existing contract that's being presented. So anybody that wants to see them can see them in the minutes when they get posted. That brings us to facilities updates. Come on up, Chris.
Everyone,
Oh, yeah.
not too bad yourselves.
We are living a dream. Well, I'm living a dream. I can't speak.
Fantastic.
What do you got?
What do I have? We're gonna start with the what do they call it? Homeland Security Funding Grant that was just put out over June of this summer. I submitted our numbers back in August. We did not make the first round, but we did make the second round. All my numbers that I grabbed were in conjunction with the Homeland Security review that they did of our school. My total for their top 5 things that we needed to add was $75,500. In the second round grant that we received, we're getting $51,700. So with that money, we will be doing door and glass film update. Does anybody have any, the film is not bulletproof, but it will stop a bullet from shattering glass, allowing someone to gain access or entrance through a door or a window. Additional cameras will be installed, and a buzzer system will be installed, so someone doesn't have to go from the receptionist desk to the outside to allow people in. And we'll also be upgrading the sliding glass door where the receptionist is to a Keller window. So things, paper size can be passed through, but nothing bigger than that. That's one update. And those, I'm not sure what the deadline is. They do give you, it's not a quick get this done. So I will find out the deadline, yes.
For the door improvements, are we replacing doors?
No, that will be the film. The glass on the first floor, and all the doors at the main entrance, side entrances will be getting the film.
So it's exterior doors
Exterior doors,
and lower level windows.
yes.
And then I'm assuming we end up having to fill in the back of it to get to the balance of the 75.5. So we'll get a grant, we'll have a grant for 51.
I'm sorry,
We'll get the grant for 51
yes.
and we'll be filling in the difference.
If we choose to go that far. My numbers are very high that I added money, so we might have more than we need.
Don't know until it's.
Don't know until it's done. Correct. We could have residual money left over to.
Okay.
As far as the windows go, the iPhone and Teller window probably about 10, 15,000, somewhere in there, right? That you've got budgeted, so that leaves about 35 for the glass treatment.
Should I say it again, Chuck?
So the AI phone, right, the access from
yeah.
the desk, that's gonna be called 10, and the teller window is gonna probably be about 5, so that leaves 35,000. I'm just wondering if we should look at upgrading windows. Do we have to use the funds exactly as prescribed, or could we go with new windows that are bullet resistant or something like that? Get thermal performance.
I think we
And
also.
also safety.
I think we have to use it for what we look for.
Exactly, I say we put film on these windows. that's
I'm
how we
pretty
do it.
sure.
Yeah,
We could email and find out,
I
but
can find
usually
out.
it's usually the activity for that you put in for. They may allow a revision.
Sorry to make you fly.
And everything else is pretty self-explanatory on that. All right?
all right.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see it.
You didn't get the 24,000. You said you requested 75,000.
I requested 75.5, and I ended up,
What were the things that you didn't?
buzzer system. Oh, actually, no, door replacement. And our doors aren't in any bad shape, but they are old. I don't remember if I was here during the survey being done by Homeland Security, but that's what they had put down, and more portable radios.
We've spent
I
an
mean-
awful lot of money on radios over the years.
They're very expensive.
And,
Yeah. But I think we got radios with the first round of safety grants.
Yes.
Yeah, we got one set, and then we've
Yeah.
lost second set, with some
Yeah.
surplus money.
So what,
Right now, we're at 22 radios.
so how many do they want us to have? Like,
I-
is there a number or are they just like more?
I think that was us. I don't think that wasn't Homeland Security recommendation, I don't think. I think they typically, as long as we have some portable radios, I don't think they typically require a number.
okay,
It's something we could put in for, but I don't know that it was a.
Okay.
And sometimes their recommendations aren't always things we need to act immediately on or
Right.
even act on. It's just, hey, you
It's
could
their
beef this up by doing X, Y, and Z.
They still haven't asked us to put bollards in front of the building or anything along those lines, have they?
what's that?
They haven't asked us to put
No,
bollards up?
no,
anything like that?
no, I listed 5 things and everything was in their rating of how it should go.
Okay.
So they have not called for bollards. at the
Oh,
front of the
interesting.
building.
Okay. All right,
All right,
so that covers that section. So that is basically will become stuff you'll start planning for and you'll develop a plan for when you want to presumably that.
Yep.
Doesn't sound like any of it's long work, but I'm assuming it's all gonna be summertime work or?
yeah, most likely, because everything would be pretty much a disruption to
Okay.
the daily flow of school.
All right.
Fire alarm panel, talked to RB Lewis. He is putting together his schedule with his electrical contractor to come in over Christmas vacation to start pulling wire through the floors for installation this July. Solar, I've reached out to 3 solar companies based in New Hampshire for a consultation on solar panels on the roof. I'm sending out our 1 year's worth of electrical bills so they can do their calculations on that. I've had contact with everybody except for Sundial Solar, waiting for them to return my call. Revision Energy, Granite State Solar, and 603 Solar are the 3 of the 4 that I'm reaching out to.
Excellent.
I've got consultants giving me numbers for the roofing project.
Okay.
And hopefully December, we are in December, hopefully by the first of the year,
It's all January.
we can wrap that up and choose a consultant for that, to get that
Is
out.
that to do the bid docs?
Yes, bid docs, blueprints, everything that's gonna be needed to RFP, everything for the RFP and pre-bid meeting.
What are the consultants? Do they have a fee?
I'm sorry,
The consultants?
yes, they do, yes.
Is there a generic number that we need to approve?
I've only received 1 number from a consultant.
Don't give us a name of who it is.
So you're still working on getting numbers?
Okay.
Yes, I'm still
Hold
working on
that there.
getting a couple more,
So hold that.
yes,
Okay.
okay.
Is it an amount that we'll need to put out to bid, or is it under what we need to?
Well, they'll come up with the scope of works and RFP and all the paper documentation. And then some of the consultants do both, consult and install. I'd like to go with a Carlisle system, which is highly used throughout the world, throughout the United States, especially in New England. Fully adhered system, 20 or 30 year warranty. I'd like to go with the Carlisle system. It's actually some of the rubber we have on our roof is with a Carlisle system. I'd like to stay that way.
And we're looking, you're looking at the entire roof. We're not doing just the flat roofs, we're doing everything, correct?
All the consultants so far said the roof the pitched roof was in good condition. There was no real reason to do anything with that unless we know the age of that rubber roof.
Could assume
It's not original.
it's not original?
No. No. I mean, we can always add it if,
So I would think I'd want to at least, talking out loud from an opinion standpoint, I would want to know what the cost adder is.
I think we need two things. One, to determine what the age of each roof system is, but I think more so, we gotta be careful how we procure the project, just make sure we, dot our i's and cross our t's. Because we're going to need to put in an RFP. If the consultant, it doesn't matter to me if they want to put in the time to design the bid docs and also bid on it. That's saving you the back end work, but we want to make sure it's just not something that's proprietary, gives them an edge, so.
Well, is that Carlisle is,
that Carlisle
it's
is
like an
done
IKO
by
symbol for a house,
most
right?
of the big three New Hampshire roofing companies.
So it's a system they're all.
So it's not just a single
distributed.
proprietary
Yeah.
system.
But they'll be doing, so you have someone that's gonna be preparing plans, specs.
Yep.
All that.
Yep.
I assume that's gonna come at a fee to us? though?
Yes, it will.
So that's what I think we need to put out to bid, just unless it's under our threshold for whatever.
I think if we get once Chris gets the quotes from the consultant, we'll have to bring that back to the board.
And then I would say from a planning standpoint, I think we should at least look at an option of doing everything all at once. The flat roofs we know are the primary concern, but if you're gonna go through the disruption and get up there and do it all, I think my mentality is to at least consider zeroing it out or at least looking at the option cost. Probably, you more so, Jeff, than what your thoughts were.
If it's a 10-year roof, I just leave it.
We can always show it as an add-all.
We have a way to find out if that roof hasn't been done since I've been here.
I
feel like it
think
was done in
most-
the first year or two.
I can't remember.
most of the rubber up there have dates on it of I don't know if it was when it was installed or when it was made,
It was when it was manufactured.
when it was made?
Yeah.
Okay, so
What's the date on
I don't remember, I'll have to get back up on there on the roof, I'm sorry.
it? Grab a flashlight, go
Yeah.
up there right now. Yeah, I mean,
I mean, that's nothing, it's really nothing to go back now and say, hey, add this.
yeah, I mean, at a minimum, I don't see why we don't want to at least see it as a line item on the bid.
Okay,
When we put it out to bid, there's no reason not to have it as a line item. And this is part of the big pitch roof, but we have the two eyebrows over the wings.
those brand new stripped and brand new
Okay.
asphalt shingles. Yes.
So it's everything, right now, you're planning on everything except
Everything.
necessarily this section of
Yes.
pitch roof.
New flashing and new vinyl siding on the two ends. The vinyl siding that is there. On the two ends, we actually have vinyl siding
Oh, okay,
that cover it. It's over the T111
okay.
board.
Yeah.
So leaving the board intact as long as it's,
I'm just cleaning up the
yeah, we're
Okay.
just cleaning it up. It's very weathered, broken.
brittle and dry.
It almost seems like it's Home Depot value of vinyl siding, so go with something a little more commercial.
So it sounds like we'll get another update on that once you get
Yes.
consultants.
Yep.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, sorry, you're in my blind
Yes.
spot tonight,
So
Nate.
it's all right. Do we have a plan, and I, again, wasn't here at that meeting, I apologize, but plans for paying, do we have budget room for this currently? Or is this something we should be considering a warrant article for this year? How are we gonna be paying for
So
this?
we talked about briefly, we still have money left in the facilities improvement budget. That should,
Not a lot of that.
Well, that's 800K probably, and the end would probably be about 800K.
That's after the septic?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We put in $1 million, we already had, I think we had 400. And then we took 120 from the town from impact fees to offset in the septic as well. So the septic was expensive, but we offset some of the costs. So we do have a draft warrant article for adding additional funds to that for continuing additional projects down the road. But we should have enough in that,
This project would fit under that,
should fit under it.
okay, it wouldn't require a separate warrant article just for, let's say, solar panels or just for.
Solar panels are, the projects that are currently thought of for this existing fund are the roof, the driveway, and the balance of the fire alarm. System should all fit inside that fund.
Okay.
And then it would be to seed it for basically the projects that would occur in the summer of 24.
I think in our budget discussion, we'll come back to the idea of putting solar panels maybe in. Are we not that far down there?
I don't think we'd be far enough down that road to put it into a warrant article this year. I don't think.
I'm sorry, what was that?
As far as like, from a standpoint on solar, we're not gonna be anywhere near that by the end of December. We're in the, I think we're in the too early in the process.
Yeah, I would, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I think that's we're going prep work for, okay, next year.
Thanks.
Questions on the roof? All right, keep rolling.
Keep rolling. Thank you, everyone.
That all? There's
Yes.
more. That's it?
Yeah.
We're still waiting on Keach for the elevations. Okay,
So you started it.
okay, so that's for the parking lot. Yeah, I guess that's it.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good evening, Chris.
You guys as well. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, we have to have Chris, you drop your keys. We have to have a brief non-public, so the board can, we'll just step into the other room. So look for a motion, NHRSA 91A32, small letter C, to go into non-public.
So moved.
Second. Aye.
Hold on.
Yes.
Moved by Nate, seconded by Andy, roll call. Kendra?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Myself, yes. 25, and we're just gonna step out momentarily. We'll be right back, folks.
Can you remind us what C is? Small letter C, Patty, and the exact is matters which if discussed in public would likely affect the person, the reputation of the person. Thank you. Made in non-public. No action was taken in non-public. I think that's that, so I can say it right. We don't need to say it. All right. So let's get into the budget. Patty, do you care to
I care to.
take us for a walk
Do indeed.
down budget lane?
All right, we're gonna skip the warrant articles for now. So on our fourth draft of the operating budget, we had some changes from the last meeting and we had to make a couple of changes in addition to that. So we will start on line 147. Right there.
This budget has, sorry, I'm
That's okay.
technology struggling.
Would you like a paper copy? It's right under your elbow, your left elbow.
Amber was copying these packets at like 5 o'clock, so I don't know if she thought to then go ahead and put it in or not.
You do
It
have
might be
a,
there.
look at you, Andy. Look at
So
you.
sad.
That would be page 10 if you're used to,
We had 2 board meetings tonight, so she may have forgotten to put it in there.
you need glasses.
Might.
Zoom it.
And there's no scroll button?
It's good for you. It's character building. All right.
Okay, so there was a change in line 147 and 149. So 147 is, we're in the special education section. Summer program tuition increased by $20,000 and special placements unfortunately increased another $200,000. So we had the conversation at the last meeting about the special education trust and that there was only $200,000 in there, and we did talk about whether the board would be comfortable taking funds out of that. The board ultimately decided not to do that and not to cut the special education budget. But given that we are adding another $220,000, I just wanted to point that out, and obviously that would be up to the board to have that discussion.
So, sorry, you were just saying 147 and then 149?
Yes, so it's summer program tuition and special placements tuition.
So why don't we cover all the changes from last week to this week, and then we can go
Make
back and
decisions,
have
sure.
discussions regarding anything after that, if that works for everybody? Put a little mark there.
And then line 273, the board asked to increase the attorney's fees by $10,000. So Amber made that change. Anything highlighted in yellow, if it's easier to quickly go to it, is where she made changes. And then lines 335 and 337, we discussed last week changing the numbers to match the town bid for the oil and the propane. So that was changed to $2.16 a gallon for propane, estimated at 2,000 gallons, and then $3.62 for oil at 13,000 gallons. So those numbers are updated.
That's still a great price.
Yeah, those are good.
Check my mind.
I'll take it. Next month.
And then in line 357, the board had intended to take out 1 high school bus, but there was 1 missing as well from elementary, so we add that back in so that there are 7 elementary.
Okay, so the budget currently is for 2 high school, 7 elementary.
Yep. And then line 368, Jeff, good catch, noticed that there was no dollar in that line to keep it open, so we put that dollar in there. It was at 0 last time.
All right, so that brings
And
us
those are the
to
changes.
a bottom line, as we're currently looking at it, of $15,986,930 for anybody watching at home. That gives us a, well, because the $1 million warrant article got added into the budget last year, as DRA instructs us to do, it is a 1.75.
Negative.
Default.
Decrease.
Yes, I was looking at the voted for 2023. It is a 2.13% decrease when you factor in the $1 million adder. If you remove the $1 million, it works out to be 4.01% increase from last year's approved default budget, less than $1 million.
Yep.
Okay. So that is where we currently stand. So the questions that are before us, so I go back to, is there any other tweaks, tunes, changes, adjustments that we desire to make? Because realistically, we do need to or I would like to approve a number tonight because the MDC is pretty much at the point where they're ready for the school district budget. So the highlighted items that I have, and these were discussion points from throughout the course of this process, is I think we should have another discussion about buses, at least to see if it's worth talking about a little bit further. I think we probably want to spend some time talking about the special ed increases and costs that we've seen. Are my two, I guess, check marks here. Does anybody else have anything they want to circle into, or does anybody have a spot where they want to start, or do we want to leave it alone?
I'd be happy to start with the special placements line 149.
Okay, so line 149. What do you think, Nate?
Given our discussion last week and the nature of our trust funds and the nature of our record of having fund balances at the end of the year, I think in the interest of passing the budget the year, we also want the teacher contract to pass, et cetera. I think it's worth cutting $100,000 from that. And it may be, well, I'll make the motion first. I'm going to move to amend line 149 to 218,060.
Second.
All right, and so.
Hold on.
again-
Hold on.
No.
Yeah, no, you added $1 million to it.
Is it?
He
It
said
says
two.
oh, I'm reading the wrong, yeah, I'm reading the wrong thing. Okay, this is the, okay. Instead of 181,560, that one, I'm gonna cut that down to 171,560.
Second.
That's what I meant to do. Thank you for catching that. I apologize.
I just heard 218 and was thinking you were doing 2 million. All right.
And those, and so I think that, I believe we could also later come back to a question about adding, maybe we could make up that 100,000 if we were to put a separate warrant article on the warrant. But I think for our operating budgets, chances of passing, and then we'll hope that it goes well and we can cover it. But I think our chances are pretty good at covering, so I would say, let's cut that one.
So we do have in the back fund balances for the trust funds. So just as part of the conversation, throw this in the mix. We are sitting on, although Lisa indicated that it is a little less than maybe she would like to see there, $306.40 as of 6:30 in the special education trust fund. So we do have that as a fallback if we run short. Discussion regarding the $800,000 reduction.
Based on,
Go.
based on some of the conversations we've heard, special educated leadership, the 200 in surplus
In the fund.
in the fund, excuse me, is not what they would like to see. So at the end of the day, I think a warrant to increase that should be a consideration that we have. I don't necessarily know how that impacts the conversation around reducing the line item by 100K. But given that we're having a conversation about it, I just wanted to bring that up.
Did we draft an article for that?
No, we didn't put anything.
We
Simple enough
We
to
did.
do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a conversation we can have. I would certainly, I think I agree with you, Andy, is that we're gonna take it out of here. Maybe we discuss language about seeding that, with some more money so that in circumstances like this, we can be a little bit more comfortable tightening it up. Anybody else? All right, all in favor of the motion to reduce line 149 from $1,818,560 to $1,718,560. Say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Do I need to make a motion to draft language for?
That's it. We're gonna
Once
do
we get to
warrant
the warrant.
articles.
Yep, we've got them tonight.
That's next. Okay, so that brings the bottom line. That brings, that was unanimous.
No, all yes, yep.
You sound lovely tonight. All right, so that brings a new bottom line proposed budget from The current proposed is $15,986,390. That's gonna bring it to $15,886,390. I'm just trying to keep a rolling tally of changes. Is that correct, Patty?
Yes.
Okay, and that's also gonna have an impact on the default.
Yes.
So the default
We'll go down.
currently sits at $15,923,174, will now be $15,823,174. Okay. That's those changes. So that's the adjusted bottom line. Okay. Any other discussion points? Busing may be one that I had highlighted, although I don't necessarily know how I feel about it. Does anybody want to have another discussion about it?
Yeah, I guess I'd be curious about a sort of like going back, we did cut a bus from the high school route. Does a high school bus cost the same as the in-town bus?
No. High school bus is, elementary bus is $359.74 per day. And a high school bus is $407.75 per day.
I had been thinking that if that, magical night bus were to actually materialize, and I agree, Jeff, your point that I'm not overly optimistic about that. Making it a late bus available for our high school students able to get back from Concord to be able to experience, whatever, sort of conversation. But we've already had that. That was my only question.
So are you lobbying for any changes to those lines? Or? So right now, we're budgeting for 9 buses.
Yeah.
In the past, we budgeted for as many as 11.
No, I don't think we're gonna have a place to add any buses to that.
Is there an interest in discussing removing a bus again?
No, but I might be interested in moving the elementary bus over to the high school. The 9th bus, make it a high school bus instead of elementary bus.
I think that's more of a,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a budget line change or if that's
Yeah.
just a,
And that could be discussion, if that materializes, that could be like a July conversation.
Yeah, because you're talking about $25 a day difference times 100,
in 80 days. It's not a,
$4,000.
so I would
Hold
have
off on that
Hey,
conversation.
have we talked to Dale about a late bus? Because theoretically, it's not the same time as all the other schools, right?
Oh, there's all kinds of.
Oh,
We've had lots of
Okay.
conversations.
I don't know.
Fair question.
None of them ever go well.
We've yelled at them, we've kicked and screamed and brought them all in here.
But part of the issue too with the late bus is that the students, their activities all end at different times. So it's trying to find that time that would, at sports are all over the place. You kind of have to find a sweet spot that kids are kind of done with what they want to do and can get back and not leave the kids that get on earlier there for too long. There's a lot of different activities.
And if we only have, 7 buses like we do now total, then it's a moot point anyway, so.
Yeah.
So that's a conversation that could wait, but I'm not looking to change that.
All right, so I put a check mark next to that. Am I crossing my, anybody else want to take that up? No, okay. Any other items that anybody wants to address? I know we've been making tweaks throughout the course of this process. But I think that eliminates my lines. Patty, is there anything else that you want us to think about?
Nope.
Any other programs or things that got cut and left in the office before that we should be considering? Are we doing everything we can to provide the kids with everything that
I think we're in good shape.
should I ask Brian if he is?
Sure.
I'm not gonna. I won't do that today. Okay, so with that being said, I'm gonna look for a motion to approve. I'm gonna do 2 separate motions. We'll do the proposed and the default separately. I'm gonna look for a motion to approve the 23-24 proposed operating budget for the Deerfield Community School District in the amount of $15,886,390.
So moved.
Moved by Jeff, do I get a second? Seconded by Andy. Additional discussion? All in Favor?
Aye.
Aye. That is unanimous. All right, I'm gonna look for a motion to approve the default budget for the 23-24 school year for the Deerfield Community School District, in the amount of $15,823,174.
So moved.
Moved by Jeff, seconded by Andy. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
We have a completed budget. And so in regards to the MBC, we started doing the binder, so it's just a matter of correcting the budget.
Yeah, we just needed all the updated numbers to put in there and
Can you let me know tomorrow when you think I can let them know when they can have them? Let me know. You think?
maybe not tomorrow.
No, not tomorrow, but like, so I can.
No,
send an
I'll
email.
try to let you know tomorrow, but if
okay.
Amber doesn't have a good
Okay,
estimation,
I
I
just
will
wanna
let
be
you know
able
as
to
soon as I
let-
can.
The chairman of the NBC know when they can swing by to start picking them up for anybody that wants to come get it.
3 boards working on budgets this week, so 3 towns.
So that brings us to warrants,
Mhm.
correct?
Yes.
All right, so we have some draft warrants in the beginning of your packets. Basically, warrant article 1 is going to be changed to reflect the numbers that we just discussed. Do we need to move the warrants tonight, or we're just discussing? We're not moving.
Well, you approved the budget, so I'll
Update
put the
that.
votes in that one. And
Okay,
then you've already ratified the contract, so you might want to do this one. Vote on the
For-
CBA
okay.
numbers.
so this is just to recommend warrant article 2.
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't we go ahead and do that? So look for recommendations. Is it a motion?
Yep, it's the vote, yep.
Vote to approve?
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm gonna look for a vote to approve warrant article 2, which is, shall the Deerfield School District vote to approve the cost items set forth in the collective bargaining agreement reached between the Deerfield School Board and the Deerfield Education Association for the 23-24, 24-25, 25-26, and 26-27 fiscal years, which calls for the following estimated increases in salaries and benefits at the current staffing level. 23-24 to $223,437. 24-25 is $228,752. 25-26, $234,011. And for 26-27, $293,484. And to further raise and appropriate the sum of $223,437 for the 23-24 fiscal year, such sum representing the additional costs contributable to the increase in salaries and benefits required by the new agreement over those that would be paid at the current staffing levels. So I need a motion to approve. Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Nate, seconded by Jeff. Do we have discussion regarding warrant article 2? Jeff?
Just a silly, stupid question probably, but if we're carrying the cost of are we carrying the cost of these increases in the budget we just voted to approve? Okay, so that's what we need to raise it.
Yep.
Okay.
Additional discussion? All in favor? Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye, so that is 5-0 on the school board side. Okay. All right, so the rest of these, let's see, warrant article 3 is, well, we can actually, that's not necessarily non-monetary, do we need to?
But just
we
make
don't
sure
vote
you
on it?
want to include it. We always do, so that if the collective bargaining agreements fail, it gives you permission, authorizes the governing body to call one special meeting to address cost items. So if the collective bargaining agreement fails, you don't have to petition the court to schedule a town meeting. Already get permission from the voters to do that, so that you could go back. If the voters vote this down, you could go back and renegotiate a new.
So we have always
Dollar
included that with the warrant when we do a CBA. Do we want to continue including that?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yes, do we need a vote on that?
No.
Okay, so we can probably, as the state board of ed,
No, so,
So you-
number 4 is the Concord contract. This is the language that, Attorney Graham recommended for the warrant article. Dean hasn't reviewed any of these, but he did agree that it would be good to have a second set of eyes, and
Okay.
highlighted that, the agreement is approved by the state board because it looks like it won't be on the agenda until the January meeting. So as soon as we have that date and they approve it, we'll put it in.
so presume, when it goes before the state board, do we need to either to represent it or?
No,
is
we
it-
just submit,
formality?
just submit a letter. The commissioner's assistant suggested giving them a copy of the current contract, the new contract,
Okay.
and ask them, indicate that both sides have agreed, and ask them for approval.
All right, so the second question I have is a follow-up to this. Does that contract warrant language like we have for warrant Article 3? So that if it was to fail, we can call a special meeting, or is that not applicable in this circumstance?
I have never been asked that question. I would have to consult our legal
You've
department
been
on that
asked.
one. I have.
And there's no breakout of costs like in the previous line of the CBA?
That's the way it was presented to me. Dean hasn't reviewed them yet, and I would want his guidance on that, whether
So I would,
we need to indicate
so can you,
what the tuition will
So
be,
that will be-
estimated tuition will be.
that will be a follow-up, I think, question for us to sort out is there is savings built into that contract, and I think we should be able to show it. You agree with that, Nate?
Yes.
Everybody agree with that? So if we can find out on that as well, obviously, we're not gonna be acting on that tonight.
Yeah. I just wanted to get the lab draft on there for you, the
Okay.
language.
Any other questions for Patty
I just had
regarding Article 4?
sorry, not on board, not on board.
I'm gonna make you wait.
It's
All right.
about, it's about 2.
We'll go back there momentarily. Okay, so those would be the two questions following up on that, and then again, Dean's review. And include the tax impact of the contract, at least for the first year, a couple of years. Okay, you want to go back to 2?
Yep.
Go back to 2.
Just combing back through some historical numbers, I just wanted to confirm that what we just approved are accurate. The final year of the 26-27 increase over the previous year.
Yep.
I'm looking at 237,847. This is 293,44.
I got an updated spreadsheet today that included longevity, but if it's that different, I would want to check on that.
Yeah, can we look into that?
Yeah,
It just,
that's, you're looking at the spreadsheet before, but that's the latest.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm
but when
gonna
I
check on that,
just
you're right.
do a year over year,
It
like
seems-
increase, it goes from like 2 to 3% was, I think, what
Yep.
we're talking about, but
Longevity shouldn't bump it that
the math for the last year doesn't look right.
All right, so why don't we you're gonna bring that one back if there's changes?
I'll just,
Sorry.
check it.
Okay.
No, thank you.
All right, so that brings us to Article 5. So these are the articles, or these are potential articles that we need to discuss. So Article 5 would be, and I guess this is generated from conversation at the last meeting, a building renovation and site improvement fund. And that would be to create a building renovation and site improvement fund, which I think is what you were looking for, Jeff?
Yes.
Yeah, so I had emailed Dean after that meeting and indicated what your intentions were and said that we were interested in a new trust fund. So he suggested calling it Building Renovation and Site Improvement Trust Fund. And he indicated it could be for the purpose of renovating the Deerfield Community School, modernizing its systems, and making site improvements, and to raise and appropriate the sum of whatever you decide to put in there. And then
And that's gonna
It's-
differ.
surplus, right now it's in there as unreserved fund balance, so you could decide to
Right,
do
and so-
taxation
so-
either way.
On any of these draft articles from 5 through, or 5 through 8, anything
Yeah.
more raising money, the discussion has to occur is the order that they end up on the ballot dictates the placement in their funding. So if you have a $200,000 fund balance and you have $400,000 of past articles that you want to fund, you can only fund up to the amount you have. And so you start funding as they appear on the ballot until you run out of funds. If you want to raise and appropriate, obviously, that's separate.
Did Dean think that the Deerfield School Facilities Repair and Improvement Expendable Trust Fund wasn't adequate?
You had asked about creating a new one.
Yep.
So I told him what your intentions were and asked what that new fund might be called. We then went back, I looked at trust fund history, because I had a little glimmer of memory there. And it was changed in 2011, to add the repair and improvement. And that was my question after I found that, like, I wonder if that would cover.
So that begs the question
Your
is, are we,
intentions.
right, are we creating another fund just for the sake of creating another fund, or does the existing fund cover?
Right.
Yeah, if we're allowed to do it out of the, I don't want to put on my birds, but
but, you know, it does say improvement. So I just want, you know, I want to be able to spend money improving the school. So Dean could confirm that. Certainly don't want to create a trust.
And then, do you have a dollar amount in mind that you wanted, if you were creating a new one?
$45 million.
Okay,
Oh, it's certainly
from
improved.
surplus?
No.
I won't get you very far, but.
I'd want to talk with Chris about that. You know, going back to what Ms. Whitmore had said at the last meeting, I know we have the large scale capital improvement plan, but I do think it would behoove us to start looking at, all right, you know, if we were to make smaller improvements, not the roof systems, but, you know, what do our science teachers, you know, what, you know, in kind of going at that granular level.
Upgraded electrical or something.
So,
I mean, that's why I sit here, because it's the only electric well that I can access, so.
That's how it goes when they're teaching too. Everything revolves around the outlet.
all right, so let me throw the first question out is, do you want to table the idea of Article 5 for the time being? And assume that we can operate everything through 6?
Yes.
I'll just leave it at a 0, and then if we find out we can use the other, we'll
Yeah.
just delete it.
As far as some of the, go ahead.
No.
And I'd be happy to help steer Chris or help, I mean, it's, because it's kind of that, I don't want to get into the weeds, but coming up with that, I'd look to him in the administration to tell us what they'd be looking for amount.
For Article 6.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I mean, last year, Article 6 received $1 million. I think we had asked for less, significantly less, was it? 200, 2 or 250. So we want to put a number in there as a placeholder for the time being, and we don't want, you want to leave it empty. I mean, my thought process is, you know, this is perpetually ongoing work that we're going to start kind of developing and working on. So you always want to know you have the money to do the work. So you want to try to be far enough out in advance so that you have the funds to do the work that as you start generating projects. I would be more than happy to think a $500,000 number would be a good number to put in that. And I would raise and appropriate. I wouldn't do it from fund balance. I would do it as a raise and appropriate. So,
Yeah. I think that the general direction should be, you know, I would hope to see that other boards continue is to, the town showing it's willing to support and fund it. But it would be that much more to our advantage if we could have some very concrete plans in place for where we're going
Like
with
what's
that.
next?
Like, yes, this is a great rainy day fund for these long-term deferred things that, you know, 30 years are creeping up on us, but if we had kind of that ground level plan, I think.
I mean, you still have, you've got classroom ventilator systems that are in replacement. You have glazing that's going to need to be discussed at some point.
And $500,000 is not gonna get the modulars inside.
No.
Be a hell of a trick, Nate, if it did, wouldn't it?
Jim, sorry.
Yeah, I guess what I'm envisioning with programs, you know, whether it's classroom doors or you know, all the very granular
I think
micro stuff, you're talking macro level.
No, but I also think the flip side of that is we've never really given the administration an opportunity to say, all right, we know we have funding available to start looking at these projects so that they can sit down and go, okay, what are the things that need to be, you know, what do we want to address it? Yeah, science, you've kept, you know, you mentioned science labs a few times. So if, I mean, from an administrative level, if you knew that there was a $500,000 pot of money for improvement for a science lab or a STEM lab or whatever it may be.
What would be our next priority?
Where would you start prioritizing, right? If you could start saying, okay, well, outside of working within the envelope that you currently have, where do you want to spend money? I want to spend more money in the STEM lab. Okay, what's it going to cost? It's $50,000. Okay, what's that going to get us? But the money's already there to fund it. So you're not trying to forecast it out. Now, you can actually
Start to.
conceive a project and
You know,
start.
we can certainly work on science rooms. They're in desperate need. The STEM lab wouldn't be realistic at this point because that's the STEM lab.
I'm saying it because I'm
Bookcase.
looking behind the
Yeah,
bookcases and
That's
it's
all,
just
we don't
kind
have the
of.
space.
Build a wall, so library, right? Create, you know, I'm like.
There are things we can do.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm really modular STEM.
If we go that route, are we then a little bit like the idea of buying the modulars? Are we locking the town or are we getting the voters comfortable with the idea of just sort of keeping it going rather than biting the bullet of getting the modulars inside. That really, I think, is
So
the
the-
goal here.
I think
This idea is not gonna get the modulars inside.
I think there's two different things you're looking at, right? So you're looking at, the current situation is this is what we have. We're in it, and it may or may not be what we have for a long time. So do you continue to make what we have as good as it can be? Or do
Those
you,
modulars are not gonna last a lot longer before they fall apart.
those are high quality double As. So do you defer the things that you could be doing inside the building in hopes that you can get something to happen on a grander scale? Or do you keep doing that? I mean, the flip side is if, if that fund gets seeded enough and it gets to the point where the community decides to support a project and that fund becomes less necessary, monies can always be returned to taxpayers. You can close out a fund and send the money back or use it to offset building costs down the road. So I'll make a motion just in an effort.
If it's in that fund, it can't be used for another purpose. It could not be used.
No,
for
it could be given back to the taxpayers, which offsets the cost of a bond per se, right?
Say that's an improvement, getting rid of the modulars and building something.
That would be a good, if we could start putting money in there and actually work towards a, major down payment on something like that, that would be.
Yeah, and I think that's what it does. It gives us the flexibility, whether it's a macro level project or micro level, but
So then part of the question is the language there flexible enough to actually potentially use it that way?
You're never gonna build up enough of a kitty there that, you're not gonna build a $10 million kitty. I mean, you could create a fund for building a $10 million kitty for the future expansion of the school and just perpetually try to put $500,000 a year in it.
Well, we have one, it's called the expansion fund. It's
Well,
called which one is it?
Deerfield School Edition Capital Reserve.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
the one.
So you could ask for $500,000 for that fund on an annual basis until you have a giant chunk of money. But I'm gonna say for Article 5, I'm gonna make a motion that we at least input a number of $500K to be raised from taxation.
That was the one you're not sure you're creating yet.
I'm sorry, Article
You mean
6.
six?
I apologize, 6.
second.
So we have a motion by myself and a second by Jeff to insert the sum of $500K. I'm gonna read the article just so it's part of the record, that's okay. So Article 6 currently reads, shall the Deerfield School District vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $500,000 to be placed in the school facilities repair and improvement expendable trust fund for the purpose of school building repair at Deerfield Community School. The sum to come from June, so this would be the change in
You're gonna
language.
raise and appropriate, yeah.
Right, so this sum
Period.
would be, is there language for that?
Just
Should be to raise and appropriate.
raise and
from
appropriate, yeah.
Taxation, okay.
or,
I don't have that
yeah,
language
just
there.
I'll just get rid of that and we'll revise it.
You'll correct it, okay. So, go ahead, Jeff.
Could we change the language to, for the purpose of school building repair and just add in improvements?
I think it is.
Well,
It's in the trust, it's the name of the trust.
Yeah, but.
Oh, in the,
Yeah.
after the title.
Yeah.
And improvements?
Because that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm fine with that. Everybody fine with that?
Mhm.
All right, so,
Just change the language or your motion?
I'll amend my motion to include that language if Jeff will.
Second.
We're good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, last year, the community, and I didn't necessarily think it was going to pass the ballot, but the community supported $1 million for that fund. I think $500,000 is going to allow us to continue working on some of those larger and smaller projects. Obviously, a deliberative, if the community wants to get behind a larger number again, they're more than welcome to rally it up. But I think that's a good chunk for us to continue making progress.
Do you,
It didn't
so
work.
part of what happened last year was part of it was raise and appropriate and part of it was
That I
from
don't want
surplus.
to do.
So, well, is there a risk of losing the whole 500 because people don't want to raise and appropriate? And is there any value in saying we want to raise and appropriate 250 and raise and appropriate from surplus 250? Just putting it out there to think about.
No,
I don't know if you had thought of that already.
I have thought of that. I
Okay.
just,
If you
I mean, at
have-
the end of the day, if you raise and appropriate or you return the money to the taxpayers, I mean, it's kind of in my head, you're taking money out of your left pocket and putting it in your right
Yeah,
pocket.
part of
vice
it's
versa.
already been raised.
Right, and so,
And I think I would look at this differently if the chance was there for number 6, as it's currently worded, to be able to down the road potentially use it for an addition or some sort of building change, then if it's reluctant to not being able to have that as an option.
so,
I don't want, I appreciate your motion, but I don't want to be locked into not starting work on a more substantial change to get those modulars inside.
I will also say that at no point could this building not consume another $1.5 million worth of improvements. And if we look at what the last project was, there was $15 million worth of improvements going inside this building. So to find a place to find 1.5, right, so I'm using larger numbers, but to find $500,000 worth of improvements in that building, in this building, is no problem at all if you start trying to really make improvements. So I'm not necessarily, although I understand that, I guess, the sentiment there, this building is still gonna need, this building can consume those funds to make improvements inside it without any like hesitation of there being a surplus of funds in that improvement. You start getting into flooring, you start getting into tile ceiling, you start getting into electrical, you start updating some of the classrooms. I mean, there's just, this building could probably consume $6 or $7 million pretty quickly if you really wanted to get after it.
Yeah, I think the thing that's gonna bite us soon is, all the classroom unit ventilators.
Which is gonna be a substantial project. That's really, I think, what the big summer of 24 project is probably gonna end up being, is updating the HVAC system in the classrooms. We've done boiler stuff relatively recently, so the boiler's still current, and kind of
Did some kitchen stuff.
some kitchen stuff. So like the back of house stuff, I think is in pretty good shape. But that whole front of house that's gonna consume some funds. And frankly, $500,000 probably won't be enough to. It's gonna be. So you're gonna be.
Yeah.
So that's gonna get costly, but it's gonna become a necessary project. We're already kind of in-house rebuilding and keeping them running as it is.
I'm certainly not arguing that we don't need that, but I guess my question is, let's say we do that, and then also, let's say on number 7, we put something in there as well to start creating this, $10 million kitty, whatever, that idea of some sort of a down payment on something more substantial. Do you have any feeling from